Hello everyone, welcome. Today we're going on a trip back in time, not just a few years, but hundreds of years. We'll go to a land of amazing stories, a land with lots of riches, a land known to everyone as the Golden Bird. Imagine a place where art was everywhere, where thinking and science weren't just school subjects, but how people lived. This was India, a colorful picture made with many different cultures, languages, and old ways. From the tall Himalayas in the north to the sunny beaches in the south, buying and selling things was booming. Spices like cardamom and black pepper, which were super valuable in other countries, grew a lot here. Big schools like Nalanda and Takshashila brought smart people from all over the world who came to learn about math, medicine, space, and deep thoughts. It was a world that could take care of itself, a world that was complete. Villages were the heart of India, each a small, self-governing place. People lived happily with nature, their lives guided by the seasons. This was an India that was proud, sure of itself, and super rich, not just in money, but in its culture, its smarts, and its spirit. The story of this great change begins not with an invading army, but with a group of merchants. They arrived on India's shores carrying documents, not swords. They were from a distant island nation, Great Britain, and they called themselves the East India Company. They bowed before the Mughal emperors, presented gifts, and spoke the language of commerce. Indian rulers, accustomed to foreign traders, saw them as just another group seeking profit. Little did they know, they had allowed the fox into the henhouse. The transformation from trader to ruler was sealed by pivotal battles, like the Battle of Plassey in 1757. It was not a grand battle of equals, but a victory won through deceit, bribery, and conspiracy. With this victory, the East India Company became the de facto ruler of the rich province of Bengal. They systematically dismantled India's traditional industries. The world-famous weavers of Bengal, who produced the finest muslin, were forced out of business to make way for machine-made textiles from British factories. India, once the world's leading exporter of finished goods, was reduced to a mere supplier of raw materials. For the common man and woman of India, the arrival of British rule, or the Raj as it came to be known, meant a life of hardship and humiliation. The land, which was once their own, was no longer theirs. Farmers were forced to pay exorbitant taxes in cash, regardless of whether the harvest was good or bad. Famines became a recurrent and devastating feature of British rule. While millions of Indians starved to death, food grains were being exported from India to feed Britain and its armies. It was a brutal paradox, a land of plenty where its own people were dying of hunger. Indians were treated as second-class citizens in their own homeland. Parks, clubs, and even railway compartments were reserved for Europeans only. This systemic racism was a constant reminder of their subjugation. Every day, they were made to feel inferior, their culture belittled, their traditions mocked. Despite the oppression, the flame of the Indian spirit refused to be extinguished. They held on to their culture, their faith, and their traditions as a form of silent protest. They told their children stories of their glorious past, of heroes and kings, to remind them that they were not born to be slaves. As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, a new consciousness began to dawn upon India. Out of the depths of despair and humiliation, a generation of remarkable leaders emerged. At the forefront was a man who would change the course of history, not with weapons, but with his ideas. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, whom the people would lovingly call Mahatma, or the Great Soul. He returned to India and traveled the length and breadth of the country, connecting with the common people in a way no leader had done before. He introduced the powerful concept of satyagraha, or truth force, and ahimsa, or non-violence. Then there was the charismatic and visionary Jawaharlal Nehru, a Cambridge-educated intellectual who dreamed of a free India that was secular, democratic, and scientific. There were other powerful voices, like the fiery and uncompromising Subhas Chandra Bose, who believed that freedom could not be begged for, it had to be won. Young, passionate freedom fighters like Bhagat Singh and Chandrasekhar Azad believed that the empire, which was built on violence, would only understand the language of force. Their bravery and their martyrdom ignited the patriotic fervor of the youth across the country. One of the earliest and most tragic events was the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919. In Amritsar, thousands of unarmed men, women and children had gathered peacefully. On the orders of a British general, soldiers blocked the only exit and fired relentlessly into the crowd until their ammunition ran out. This brutal act sent shockwaves across India. In 1930, Mahatma Gandhi orchestrated the Salt March. Gandhi, then 61 years old, decided to walk 240 miles to the coastal village of Dandi. When he reached the sea and picked up a pinch of salt, it was a simple yet profoundly powerful act of defiance that sparked a massive wave of civil disobedience across the country. The final clarion call came in 1942 during the Quit India movement. Gandhi gave the nation a powerful mantra: do or die. Though brutally suppressed, the movement made it clear to the British that their time in India was over. However, the final chapter was written in blood with the tragic partition. One of the most remarkable aspects of India's freedom struggle was its incredible diversity. The Indian National Congress had leaders who were Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians and Parsis. Men like Maulana Abul Kalam Azad and Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan worked shoulder to shoulder, demonstrating that their Indian identity was more important than their religious identity. Finally, on the eve of August 15, 1947, as the clock ticked towards midnight, Nehru delivered his famous speech. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. The British flag was lowered for the last time, and the Indian tricolour was hoisted. A wave of jubilation swept across the nation. People poured out onto the streets, dancing, singing and embracing each other. The chains that had bound the Golden Bird for nearly 200 years had finally been broken. It was a moment of profound, indescribable ecstasy. Today, more than 3/4 of a century later, India has made incredible strides. It has become a global power, a leader in science and technology, and a vibrant democracy. The dream of the freedom fighters, the dream of a strong, prosperous, and inclusive India, continues to guide us. That midnight tryst with destiny was not just an end, but a beginning, an eternal promise that we, the people of India, must continue to redeem every single day. Jai Hind.